I trusted him completely, but the cracks in our marriage were deeper than I ever imagined. Part 1. I met Daniel when we were just kids, young, hopeful, and ready to conquer the world together. He was my first love, the one I thought would never leave. We built a life slowly, carefully, brick by brick. Through college, first jobs, and even hard times, we stayed side by side. I believed in us like I believed in the sun rising every morning. Our wedding day felt like the beginning of forever. Friends and family smiled, and I remember thinking, this is it, our happily ever after. For years, I held on to that feeling tightly, but sometimes even the strongest foundations hide secrets beneath the surface. Daniel started working longer hours. At first, I didn't mind. We talked about the future, our dreams of a home, children, a quiet life full of love. But then, small things changed. Phone calls he quickly ended when I walked in, texts he hid, and a new distance in his eyes that I couldn't explain. I pushed the doubts away, blaming stress or exhaustion. But the truth was far worse than I could have imagined. One evening, I came home early from work, hoping for a surprise dinner or a quiet night in. Instead, I found messages on his phone, texts to a woman I'd never heard of, words dripping with intimacy and promises that weren't meant for me. My heart shattered. The man I trusted, the man I thought was my forever, had built a life outside of ours, a secret world where I didn't exist. The betrayal wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet and creeping, poisoning every memory we'd made. In that moment, I felt like I was drowning in a sea of lies, unsure if I could ever find my way back to shore. Part 2. The nights that followed were a blur of silence and aching questions. How long had this been going on? Who was she? Was I just a convenient lie he told himself to keep his conscience clean? My mind replayed every smile, every touch, trying to find the moment when the cracks started to show. I confronted Daniel, voice trembling but determined to hear the truth. At first, he denied everything, said I was imagining things, that stress was making me paranoid. But the guilt in his eyes was undeniable. Eventually, he confessed. The affair had started months ago, a gradual drift that became an addiction neither of us could stop. What hurt most wasn't just the betrayal. It was the way he looked at me afterward, like I was a stranger he owed something to but no longer loved. The man I married was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. I felt trapped between wanting to scream, to run away, and the deep-rooted hope that we could fix this somehow. For our years together, for the life we dreamed of, for the future I still wished to believe in. But healing would be a long, painful road, one I wasn't sure we were both willing to walk. Part 3. The days that followed were a blur of emotions, confusion, sorrow, anger, and an aching loneliness I never expected. Lucas and I tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy for the sake of our daughter, but the unspoken tension between us was like a growing chasm. Every little thing reminded me of the betrayal. The scent of her perfume lingering on his jacket, the way his phone buzzed with messages he tried to hide, even the sound of laughter that didn't belong to our family anymore. I felt like a ghost in my own home. One afternoon, I sat on the porch swing watching our daughter play in the yard, her innocent laughter cutting through my despair. I realized that no matter what happened between Lucas and me, I had to be strong for her. She deserved a mother who was whole, not shattered by secrets and lies. That night, I confronted Lucas. We talked for hours, raw and honest for the first time in months. He admitted everything, how the affair started, his regrets, and the guilt that haunted him. But apologies alone couldn't erase the pain. I asked myself the hardest question. Could I forgive him? Could I rebuild what was broken? Or was this the end of us? The answer wasn't clear. Healing is never simple or linear. It's messy, painful, and filled with setbacks. But I decided to try, not for him, but for me and our daughter. I joined a support group for women who had faced similar betrayals. Sharing my story and hearing theirs made me feel less alone. We exchanged advice, tears, and encouragement. It was there I learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing. It means releasing the hold the past has on your future. Slowly, Lucas and I began couples therapy. It was awkward and difficult, but it opened doors to conversations we had avoided for years. We rediscovered parts of each other beneath the pain, the love that had brought us together before it was buried under lies. But some wounds remain scars, reminders of what was lost. I still have moments when doubt creeps in, when the past feels like a shadow. Yet, I am no longer a prisoner of that betrayal. My journey isn't over. I don't know where it will end. But I do know this. I survived the darkest betrayal and found strength I never knew I had. And that, more than anything, is my victory. Part 4. Rebuilding trust felt like climbing a mountain with no summit in sight. Every small step forward seemed to be followed by 2 steps back. Lucas and I were walking on fragile ground. One wrong move, one unspoken doubt, and everything could crumble again. There were days when I wanted to give up entirely, to walk away and never look back. But every time I saw our daughter's face, her bright eyes full of hope and love, I reminded myself why I stayed. Therapy helped, but it wasn't magic. It forced us to face uncomfortable truths, the reasons behind the affair, our communication breakdown, the unmet needs we had ignored. Lucas admitted he had been running from his own fears and insecurities, hiding in a destructive escape rather than confronting reality. I learned to express my pain without blaming, to listen without shutting down. We created new rules, no secrets, no lies, daily check-ins to share how we really felt. Slowly, the cracks began to fill with honesty and effort. But healing isn't just about the two of us. I had to rebuild myself too. I rediscovered hobbies I'd forgotten, reconnected with friends I'd pushed away, and started therapy for myself. I realized that my identity couldn't be tied solely to my marriage. I needed to be whole on my own. One evening, Lucas surprised me with a small bouquet of wildflowers. Not the polished roses I used to expect, but something raw and real. He said, "I'm sorry for breaking us, and I'm committed to building something stronger." It wasn't a fairy tale ending, but it was honest. And sometimes honesty is the most beautiful thing two broken people can share. My heart is still healing. My marriage is still fragile. But for the first time in a long time, I feel hope. Hope that love can survive even the deepest wounds if both are willing to fight for it. Part 5. Time passed, and with it came new challenges and small victories. Lucas and I learned that healing isn't a straight path. It's messy, unpredictable, and sometimes painful. But each day we chose to face it together was a testament to the strength of what remained. Our daughter grew up witnessing 2 imperfect parents trying to do better, loving each other in a way that wasn't always easy, but was honest. I realized that forgiveness wasn't about forgetting the betrayal, but choosing to release its hold over me. I also discovered the power of self-love. No longer was I defined by his mistakes or my pain. I was whole because I embraced my scars, my resilience, and my capacity to move forward. This story isn't just about infidelity. It's about the journey through heartbreak to healing, about finding light in the darkest places, and about realizing that sometimes the greatest love you can find is the love you give yourself. If you're walking through betrayal's shadow, know this: you are not alone. There is strength waiting inside you, and a future waiting to be reclaimed.